And Micah, police were initially called to that area on reports of multiple
shots were
gunshot.
fired. A young boy fleeing the scene as gunshot
members from the community
fled after the shooting and were nowhere to be found. The victims.
There are places where time doesn't just pass, it bleeds, where the ghosts of what used to be haunt the reality of what is. This is Back of the Yards, Chicago. A century ago, this was the engine room of America, the stockyard capital of the world, where the smell of money and meat filled the air. Today, a different scent hangs over these streets: gunpowder, fear, and the metallic tang of blood. This isn't just another dangerous neighborhood. This is where Chicago's gang wars were born, where rivalries were forged in factory fires that have long gone cold, and where the violence has become as institutionalized as the slaughterhouses that once defined it. If O Block is the flashy new headline, Back of the Yards is the dusty, blood-stained textbook. Walking these streets today, you don't just see poverty, you see the architecture of conflict. Murals of fallen gang members watch from brick walls like saints. Storefronts stand barred and abandoned. The occasional pedestrian moves with a hurried, purposeful gait, eyes darting, calculating risk with every step. This is a neighborhood where territory isn't just marked by graffiti, but by an unspoken understanding. Cross the wrong street, make the wrong turn, and you might not make it back. The sounds of the stockyards, the bellowing animals, the whistles, the machinery, have been replaced by a new soundtrack: the distant wail of police sirens, the sporadic pop of gunfire, and the tense silence in between. How did we get here? The story begins with the collapse of an empire. Back of the Yards was built around the Union Stockyards, immortalized in Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. For decades, it was a brutal but functioning ecosystem. Immigrants from Poland, Ireland, and Lithuania found backbreaking work and built tight-knit communities. But then, the machines fell silent. The stockyards closed in 1971, and the economic heart of the neighborhood was ripped out. What followed was a masterclass in social collapse. White flight, redlining, and political abandonment created a vacuum. Into that void stepped two powerful forces, the Latin Kings and the 2-6 gang. This wasn't random, it was sociological destiny. The same organizational structures that once ran the meatpacking plants were repurposed for the drug trade. The discipline of the assembly line became the hierarchy of the gang set. The territorial disputes over slaughtering rights evolved into bloody battles over street corners. The 1980s crack epidemic poured gasoline on this simmering fire. Suddenly, these streets became worth killing for. The Latin Kings, one of Chicago's oldest and most structured gangs, dug in. The 2-6ers, younger, hungrier, and equally ruthless, pushed back. A fault line was drawn through the neighborhood, and it has been bleeding ever since. Today, the conflict in Back of the Yards has the feel of a forever war. We're not talking about spontaneous violence here. We're talking about a low-intensity insurgency.
Chicago has a large Native Hispanic population, represented about 20% of the city, including Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Ecuadorians, Colombians, and so on.
The daily reality is this: gang boundaries are so clearly defined that residents literally plan their lives around them. There's the King's side and the 2-6 side. Taking your child to a friend's house 2 blocks away might mean crossing into enemy territory, a calculated risk that could be fatal. The corner stores aren't just places to buy groceries. They are intelligence posts, dealing spots, and potential shooting galleries. The violence here is intimate, personal. It's not just about drugs anymore. It's about revenge cycles that span generations. A shooting last week might be retaliation for a murder from 2005. There are teenagers on these streets avenging uncles they never met, caught in a war they didn't start but are destined to continue. And the statistics tell only part of the story. While Chicago's overall crime rate fluctuates, Back of the Yards maintains a consistently grim baseline. Shooting incidents here are 300% more likely than in the city's average neighborhood. But the numbers don't capture the psychological toll. The way children learn to hit the floor at the sound of a car backfiring, the way mothers memorize the closest trauma centers, the way funerals for teenagers have become routine community events. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in power wants to admit. The violence in Back of the Yards isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. This level of concentrated despair serves multiple functions. First, it's economically convenient. The chaos justifies massive police budgets, federal grants, and non-profit funding streams. There's an entire poverty industry built around neighborhoods like this, social workers, researchers, community outreach programs that depend on the crisis continuing. If Back of the Yards were to suddenly become peaceful, an entire ecosystem of government and nonprofit jobs would disappear. Second, it serves as a containment zone. City planners have effectively corralled the violence into specific neighborhoods, creating a sacrificial belt around the prosperous downtown. As long as the killings stay concentrated in places like Back of the Yards, the tourism, the business investment, the luxury developments downtown can continue uninterrupted. It's a brutal calculus, but it works. Keep the violence contained, and the money will keep flowing everywhere else. Most disturbingly, the gang structure has become a perverse alternative to the missing social contract. For young men here, joining a gang isn't just about protection or profit. It's about finding identity, structure, and purpose in a place that offers none of those things through legitimate means. The Latin Kings don't just sell drugs. They provide a sense of belonging that schools and churches long ago lost the ability to offer. When the system fails this completely, the gang becomes the system. The damage done by this endless war doesn't stay within the neighborhood's boundaries. It radiates outward, poisoning everything it touches. Public health experts track disease outbreaks that originate here: tuberculosis, hepatitis, antibiotic-resistant infections that spread through the city's hospitals. The trauma is neurological. Children growing up in constant fight-or-flight mode suffer from developmental damage that affects their ability to learn, form relationships, or function in society. The economic cost is staggering. Each homicide in Chicago costs taxpayers an estimated $1.2 million in police, judicial, and incarceration expenses. The lost economic potential is incalculable. How many future entrepreneurs, engineers, or teachers are dying on these streets before they ever get a chance? But the most terrifying consequence is the normalization. In Back of the Yards, violence isn't extraordinary. It's expected. There are third-generation gang members here, children whose grandfathers and fathers were in the same gangs. The war has become hereditary, a family business where the only inheritance is a set of enemies and the near certainty of an early grave. Back of the Yards forces us to confront an ugly truth about modern America. This isn't a neighborhood that failed. It's a neighborhood that was failed. Failed by economic policies that shipped its jobs overseas. Failed by political leaders who treated it as a containment zone. Failed by a society that would rather fund prisons than schools. The stockyards are gone, but the slaughter continues. Only now, the product isn't meat, it's human lives. And the assembly line runs 24/7, operated by children who never knew a time when their streets were safe, who can't imagine a future beyond the next territorial dispute. Back of the Yards is more than a neighborhood. It's a warning. A warning about what happens when we sacrifice entire communities on the altar of economic progress. A warning about the cost of containment. And a warning that some wounds don't heal. They just get passed down, generation after generation, in an endless cycle of blood and memory. If this look into Chicago's original gang war impacted you, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started uncovering America's hidden war zones. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation. The truth is waiting to be uncovered. Stay aware. See you in the next video.